What's going on, Archons? Welcome to another episode of Crucible and Cognac, the evening interview edition of jamming some KeyForge online and talking to some friends. Tonight, I have with me SkyJedi, aka Luke. You probably are familiar with him in one form of another, whether you have interacted or not. You have definitely interacted with, we'll say, some of his children in some way or another if you're on Discord and play KeyForge. So, hey, Luke, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're definitely someone I wanted to have on, and I thought for tonight, what we're doing is we're jamming some of the mass mutation decks that are on TCO, and I thought you would be an appropriate person to do that with.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks for thinking of me.
So, why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and why people probably know you?
Well, I go by the moniker SkyJedi online, and I started kind of making little programs for different tabletop games that I was a part of. I actually started making a dice roller for the Star Wars RPG from Fantasy Flight Games, and then slowly rolled into Genesis, their generic system for RPGs, and then while listening to one of the flight reports for Genesis stuff, they also announced KeyForge during that, and I'm like, awesome! Like, I was into Magic a little bit back in high school, but it was always just a dead game to me because I did not want to put in all the effort to build decks, and all of a sudden this game comes out where it's like, hey, you don't build decks, you just get decks and play. I'm like, this is perfect for me.
I feel that's a lot of people's story into KeyForge.
Right, it's just saying to me, it just hits so many awesome buttons. And then I joined the community there and saw there was kind of a need for some other stuff to be built. So I started building, and I just have not stopped yet with KeyForge.
Yeah, I think people probably will recognize that pretty much any bot that exists when you're sourcing KeyForge cards and things like that is a result of you, SkyJedi. Isn't that correct?
The very first one was actually by another dev called, his name is Tapeworm. He's on the KeyForge Lounge server. That's his. Like, he was first. That existed when I came around.
I know him through playing Skytear now. He's very active in the Skytear Discord.
There you go. Like, he had his bot, and I basically saw that, and I'm like, hey, I want to make a local server and other server, and I want to look up all these cards. So I took his ideas, and I made a brand new bot of my own and made it completely public for anybody to use. And that became Archon Matrix for Discord.
That's really cool.
And then from there, I got into watching Twitch streams of KeyForge through different streamers. Crit Camp and Tabletop Royale were the first two big ones that I remember seeing. Mm-hmm. And I kept watching their streams, and they would say all these card names, and I'm like, I don't know these cards. And my bot is on Discord, and I got sick and tired of switching between Discord and the stream. So I'm like, why don't I just figure out how to make a Twitch bot? So then I migrated Archon Matrix over to Twitch as well, and have been. Anytime I see a new streamer streaming TC or streaming KeyForge, I immediately like, hey, want a bot?
You're the bot pusher now.
I push the bots pretty hard.
But hey, they're honestly so useful. I know people rely on that as a source of getting knowledge and information in many different ways. So I know I can speak for a lot of people when I say thank you for creating that for all of us. It's really awesome of you to do that.
You're welcome. Anytime I can make something to make my life easier, it's always an extra nice thing if it makes somebody else's life a little bit easier as well.
Right. That makes sense. So let's kind of go into the decks we have here. So let's talk about your deck first. So we're like we said, we're going to be jamming some of the previewed mass mutation decks that were given. So first up, we have you're rocking Cyclonium Chamber Agent.
That's right.
Do you know anything about this deck, or?
Just a little bit. I know this has 4 of the new Sin characters for Out of Dis. as well as two of the rad pennies from that
Yeah.
I'm just super excited about.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And the mole is in this one too. That's a fun
Yeah,
attachment to have.
that is a great one. So hopefully it comes out so we can talk more about that if people don't know it. And then tonight I'm going to be playing rapidly ever changing Sadao. And I have played this deck once before. It's a really fun deck. It happens to have the new Sanctum leader, the Snake Mad Prophet Jizzleheart. And it also has some really cool things that can be done with the enhancements. That's one thing I knew. I found out when I was playing, and it has some really cool combos that happen in Untamed with a mushroom with a view. Does some really cool things because this mushroom with a view happens to have 3 enhancements on it, and I think it's Wild Bounty. If you play Wild Bounty and you happen to have who is it? I believe it's Scrivenger's Fabian. I want to say that's the one. If you have her out, the centaur, with the Wild Bounty, you basically go mushroom with a view. You trigger it twice, so you get 6 icons triggering. You get 2 draw, 2 ember, and then 2 capture. But when you have Scrivenger out, I believe Scrivenger does. You can choose the capture icon to be steel instead. So you're basically getting a net of 6 ember in the end just from playing the one card. It's a crazy combo in this deck.
So kill your Scavengers whenever they come out. Got it.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing to go by because, like I said, I'm kind of familiar with this deck, so I feel a little bit at a slight advantage as a result.
Right.
So knowing that is not a bad thing for me.
And I will instantly forget it because I do not remember these sorts of things that are important.
Fair. So we are enjoying adult beverage while we play tonight. So why don't you tell everyone what are you sipping on this evening?
I'm sipping on something very classy. I got some nice bourbon, but don't worry, I classed it way down by pouring a bunch of Sprite on it first. So
I'm more of a bourbon with lemonade kind of guy.
Oh, that works.
Because you can be very you can add a little or a lot, and it just alters depending on how much of the bourbon flavor you want or not. It's a really interesting mix, but it's my summer go to.
And you could put it in a water bottle without the risk of explosions.
Yes, correct. I myself am drinking a local pale ale from one of my favorite local breweries here in Steveston, which is called Britannia Brewing, and it's called the Boardwalk Choice Pickle Pale Ale. It's a really nice one.
Wow.
All right. So let's start the game, and I will start with some questions so people can get to know the way your mind works with certain KeyForge topics.
Oh, man, that's a complicated subject. Okay. And
I'm hitting start the game and nothing's happening.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Please.
Well,
it's slow.
It's slow, and it looks like you've actually mulliganed already.
Yeah, and I did not mean to do that. I literally had an amazing hand.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's super slow. It's not working for me.
Okay.
So I'm just closing some things in case that's causing the issue. Yeah, I can't see anything.
Really? Oh, you disconnected now. Now you're back.
Refreshing. Okay, there we go. It says waiting for opponent.
Okay, yeah, I'm at a house phase, so.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I have not played these ones yet. I haven't played any of the Mass Mutation card decks yet, as I do not have a ton of time to actually play KeyForge, so it does not happen very much.
That's very sad. Although I'm playing a lot of SkyTerra lately. I've gotten I've kind of gone headfirst into that one, and I'm absolutely loving it.
I have heard good things about it. Have not looked into it myself yet.
All right.
So I will play a cube mix.
So my question for you, first off, is if other people were kind of wanting to get in sort of like the tech side of doing stuff, would you be have you passed turn, by the way?
Yes. Wait, nope,
Yeah,
I
I'm
have not. I have to hit
okay.
end turn for that to
Okay,
happen.
good. I'm just
Again,
making sure I wasn't frozen.
I'm new at this. I don't play this very often, so bear with me.
You you create it, you don't play it.
That's right. I'm way too busy making stuff and breaking it.
What so if you had on that note, like if you had advice for other people who want to contribute or get into some sort of back end KeyForge or game things like the bots you created, what advice would you have for people doing that?
Um, just go out and try to make it. Like all my stuff is open source. It's all up on my GitHub. Um, feel free to fork it and get something up and running. Um, and just see what you can do with it, because it's I once you get past like that first setup part, changing it is the easy part.
Mm,
Um, and then um, just come in and talk to me too. I have my own server for my bots set up where right now it's a lot of answering questions about how my dice bots work right now, but I'm always free to talk about setting any of my stuff up or how I um, work on stuff
right.
as well.
So yeah, I'll be sure to put a link in the show notes for a way for people to get in contact with you. Okay, so okay, so I assume you don't really get paid for doing any of this coding stuff.
No,
for Keyforge.
no. I
So
do not get paid at all. I have a Patreon setup that basically covers my server costs for the month for all the bots and the TTS build server, and then
oh,
that's
nice.
about it.
So like what is it like then? Just doing something for the love of it? Do you find it gets overwhelming at times, or are you just kind of love it so much that's an easy thing for you to do?
It does get overwhelming at some points, but like all my projects right now are kind of at a point where if I don't work on them for a couple weeks, nothing like they all function right now. There's um, if I kind of ignore them for a while, then they'll still just kind of run
Be
an autopilot. Um,
right.
but it's always really nice to be able to take a break from that and then come back to it too. Like, and then having all these different projects that are kind of set up and going, um, kill everything. Um, it's nice to be able to like switch back and forth between different projects too. So it's um, like working on the bots is very very different from working on TCO, for instance.
Right.
It's a different experience altogether. So it's keeps things interesting. That's for sure.
I can imagine, yeah. Um
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna steal a whole bunch of amber that you don't have,
take that, Rad Penny.
and do that, and I'll be done.
Okay, so my next question for you is like what was the very first strategy card game you played? I know you mentioned you said you did Magic in high school, but let's say since Magic more recently, I guess. What kind of got you into this sort of world?
Let me. I don't think there was anything before KeyForge other than like Magic way back in the day. And actually, I did play Hearthstone for a little bit, but again, I just got sick of building decks. I um, would get sick of trying to build a deck on my own and then losing constantly, and then just going and finding a good net deck, building that and winning. I'm like, well, what's the point of this? I didn't like. I didn't feel like there was. Um, all I did was go look up a list and read
Yeah.
how this deck wins. I'm like, and I just never could move past that into and actually get a feeling of like, hey, I'm actually good at this game. I'm like, I wasn't.
No, I'm with you on that. Like I kind of was the same ways. I really hated. Let's put it this way. I didn't hate the concept of net decking. It's more I hated the concept of I always wanted to basically create my own decks. But the truth of the matter is if you were not able to like fully test and have that support group to test, you were just going to be losing to net decking because those decks have been tried, tested. You can watch videos on how to play them. They weren't exactly like KeyForge where you have to figure it out. Like it was very, very simple strategy for the most part. That was very easy to just watch a video and get, and then practice a little bit and you understood.
Right.
And so that frustrated me is that I couldn't just bring my own builds because no matter how good it is, it will not beat a top net deck that people know is tried and tested.
Right. And it's just a whole like what's the word? It You're never going to be able to, no matter how hard you try, you're not going to be able to make a new deck on your own when compared to all these net decks that have been play tested and trialed by thousands of people.
Yeah, I mean, in Magic especially, I know that there is like the professional players, they have like groups of like 6 people all playing and doing very specific things to test it, and the testing process is not just like, oh, here's a deck and I'm going to jam. It's like, here's a deck and I'm going to jam it, but you're going to bring all these other decks that exist in the meta that are top, and we're going to see how it works against it. Like it's so like next level with the degree that it's done. Oh, I need an Axiom of Grisk real bad. That that it's basically just like you don't have a chance of competing on that level unless you're setting yourself up for the same thing, and
Right.
it's really hard to do that.
Yeah, and like that's what I really liked about KeyForge is that you just get the decks. I mean, there's a huge advantage to being able to read the deck list and knowing what you're looking for and going out on either just buying a ton of decks or going out on the secondary market and trying to find that one awesome sweet deck.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, like that barrier to entry is orders of magnitude lower than any other trading card game that
Yeah, I
I've
would
played,
agree.
I guess. But I haven't played that much, so. What are you doing to me?
I'm not doing anything. I'm just exalting flank creatures.
Oh.
And then I moved. I just played Humble, which has a bonus icon, so you get 2 Ember for playing it, and then it says exhaust a creature if you do. Move 3 Ember from that creature to the common supply. I think that's a really cool card to have in the mix of things here with being able to capture, especially if some like Sanctum capture. Like there's so much more capture. How
Yeah.
do you feel about that actually? Just like the Ember control seems to be moving on to like the Ember's not gone; it's just in a different place, and you have to figure a way to get it. How do you feel
Right.
about that?
I mean, it's keeping everything kind of more interesting. Like Worlds Collide, like Coda came out, you just got Amber from playing cards, and you played cards, you got Amber. Um, AOA I always felt like was more combo based, where like you were looking for your combo to make your Amber, and you're looking for these big
Right.
combos to really break out and do all this crazy stuff with it. And then Worlds Collide introduced the whole idea of exalting and like, hey, here's another way to get Amber, and it had a really cool risk reward. Like, how much Amber do I want to put on these guys? Because if I
Mm-hmm.
don't get it, you're going to get it. So
Yeah,
it's kind
very
of for
true.
grabs. Um, but I do like, and I was always when I heard they were bringing Sanctum back, I was kind of worried like Sanctum could capture a whole bunch, but then do what with it? And
Yeah.
the cards that are coming out now is like, oh yeah, like you can do stuff with captured Amber.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not just a it is not just a exalting party anymore. Like you can do some fun stuff.
Your
All
board's kind of
right.
scary.
Yeah, we're gonna add one more sin character right there for you.
Ooh.
Now I got to read cards here. We're gonna do this. We're gonna kill this, and then we're gonna enrage both these boys.
Well, that was rude.
Yeah, you know. Um, And then we're just going to do some reaping, I think.
Fair.
Because I have one. Only.
Okay, so next thing I want to ask you is I got some, I call them like boilerplate questions kind of for in this, but I think it's interesting to see everyone's perspective in these different ways. Like what is your favorite house so far?
Um,
Is there
I
one like you
think
really like or like to see? Like I don't know. There's different ways I guess you could look at this, but I want to know also why it's your favorite house.
right. I think right now Star Alliance would probably be fitting in that thing because there's
Yeah.
just um, so many really interesting things they can do, um, and like they're the kind of complete opposite, but at the same time, kind of the same as Mars, where if there's stuff on your board that you want to use, and you also have some Star Alliance cards, you can go about doing some really crazy stuff, um, and it's really interesting when that happens. Um, and like I really liked AOA just because of how combo based everything was, and I feel like Star Alliance really takes that to another level. Like there's so many really cool things that you can do. Like if you have a Kirby in your hand, like there's just a ton of things you can do, and you can just keep your cards moving through the whole game. It's
Oh, I
just
agree.
fun.
And then if you have like the double Kirby, like a multiples of Kirby with the blaster, and you can start drawing into things that
Oh my
Kirby can
gosh.
play. It's just silly.
Yep. And then you get into stuff like transporter platform, and if you really want to throw a wrench in everything, you can just slow everything down and throw down a Quixel Stone, or
Yep.
um, just really interesting, fun things that you can do with it. I really like that part of that house.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's like my favorite house. I'm curious to see if it kind of got, you know, pulled back a bit in this next one because it's kind of unfortunate in a way. That like it's not kind of unfortunate, but I mean it'll be unfortunate if that's the case because I love Star Alliance. I don't think it's like. Do you think it's overpowered?
No.
I think it's really fair because
Eh,
it's like it can get out of control, but I don't think like I think you could make an argument there are some Saurian decks that are overpowered,
right.
but not
Um,
Star Alliance. It just like you need so many pieces for it to work, which I don't feel is the same thing.
right. You need a lot of pieces, and there there aren't any like huge bodies in Star Alliance. I mean, there's some bigger ones, but there's nothing like your 12 power pterodactyl that I'm staring at right now, or um, uh, a Cincinnatus Rex that just will wreck you if you just leave it on the board too long. Oh man,
Yeah, I drew that axiom literally the next turn.
I see that. I see that. I see that. I see you did that to me. Okay then. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so that happened. Here we
Yep, I
are.
see that. Hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, I like your Star Alliance thing. That's I fell in love with this house. Like honestly, like I didn't know what it was gonna be like, and I think it's the you couldn't really just see the cards of Star Alliance and truly understand it because you had to start seeing combinations and start seeing the shenanigans that could ensue to truly get how fun and like silly like Star Alliance can get and be like I think it's the first house that's existed where you can spend an entire game just calling that house and still cycle through your deck no problem,
Right.
which I don't think existed before really.
No. Hmm. Now, what do I want to do here? I think I'm going to go with this. We're going to. Nope. Reap with this boy. Just real quick. And then we're going to. You killed all my boys. I'm gonna just finish off everybody.
Oh wow, you got a lot of
And
amber from doing that though.
yes, I did. I got some ambers. Got them in my bank. And that's it. That's all I can do.
That's unfortunate. I was literally holding a word of returning, which I was going to use next turn, so that makes me sad.
Nice.
I honestly like that they brought the Gateway to Dis back.
Yep. It's. I didn't think they would, because
Me neither.
It's such a big card. Like that's such. It's such a defining card in Coda with Gateway to Dis and paired with a Rise, and it's like, if you have a big powerful Dis deck, you probably have those two cards in it.
Yeah.
But I do like they brought it back, because yeah. Who was this person?
I just went fast into check again. That's all. No biggie.
Great. But I'll forge my.
You get it. Yeah,
key.
you get to forge it.
I'll forge a key.
So, do you have like a really memorable KeyForge play, like maybe that was made by you or against you, that you kind of want to regale us with the tale?
Oh man. I have one of my very first sealed games was actually at the FFG Game Center, and I got this just awful deck that was not good, and it had an epic quest with, I think, 2 knights in the deck. And the first game,
It sounds like every Epic Quest deck.
it is basically every Epic Knight quest deck. It just did not go well for me ever. It just made it was miserable all night long. But like the last game of the night, I was 0-2, 0-3 actually, because it was a 4-round night. In the very last game, I was actually 2 keys to 2 keys, and I had like 4 Sanctum cards in my archive somehow. And with the Epic Quest out, and I happened to draw into 3 more Sanctum cards. And so, like, very last play of the night for me, I managed to play out all my Sanctum cards and forge the game-winning key with an Epic Quest. And I'm like, and then
So it truly was an Epic Quest.
It was an Epic Quest. It made me quite happy, and then I immediately threw that deck right into the bulk pile.
So what do you do with your collection, like with bulk pile? Because I know you play in the same area as Lean Forge Luke, so you're around that philosophy. How do you subscribe to that and stuff?
So I really like his Lean Forge idea, because I need to keep my collection down so my wife does not get too curious about it. Like, what? How many decks do you have? So I was really big into buying like the super cheap Coda boxes on Amazon, and whenever I could find them on sale anywhere, I would buy them at a certain like deck price. But then I would immediately like go through everything, and let's just destroy all those as well.
Good grief.
And then do this. So you can't use any of your non-existent cards, and then we'll just archive that as well.
You showed me.
Yeah, take that. So I would go through. I would keep kind of decks that I thought were interesting or that I thought were kind of powerful to someday play and try them out. And then the rest of them I would kind of throw into a bulk pile, I call it. And then when it got up to a certain amount, you're forging keys constantly, aren't you? Yes, you are. Great.
Yeah.
I have 2 amber, so just be prepared.
Okay. You have 1 now.
I've got this. I would usually sell off like the bulk decks for like $1 a deck, and the real fun thing about that is like whenever I post one of those things, it's gone in like 2-3 hours at most.
Where do you post it?
Facebook usually.
Right.
And I've actually been able to sell it 2 different lots to local people, which is super nice, so I don't have to ship it.
Mm.
And it's just people that just play casually and want to play with a bunch of friends. So I'm like, these are perfect decks for that. They're going to be fun. And then I would keep the decks that I kind of liked, and then there was a lot of decks that I would be like, this is a pretty good deck, but I don't want to play it. So then I try to sell it on like Decks of KeyForge, just listing it or putting it on Facebook and trying to sell it off that way and trying to make my money back to buy another box kind of thing.
Fair, yeah, that makes sense. Do you find you sell more on Facebook or on DOK?
It's probably faster on Facebook, but it's a lot more work. Like
Right.
you have to craft a post and say, here's why this deck is interesting. And about halfway through that, I usually get sucked down and say, I don't really want to deal with this right now.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um,
Um.
but
So, what type of player do you consider yourself? Like, are you a control player? Do you like combo decks? Do you like to play like rush decks? Like, what type of do you find yourself gravitating towards?
I would probably say I am a combo player because I am constantly chasing after like the crazy combos that I have. I have one deck that's a double key abduction deck that I know if I get to 18, and 18 being the Amber I have plus 2 times my Mars creatures on board and cards in hand and archive, I can forge 2 keys in 1 turn
Mm.
with this. I'm like, and I'm like, I know that exact number and how to get to that. And I had to like kind of let that go. I'm like, forging 2 keys with this thing is awesome, but it's not going to happen. It's going to lose me the game more
Right.
often than not, but I still try. And we'll put mole on this guy because I want that amber.
Oh man,
And I'm going to steal this one too. Boop.
that's nice.
Boop. I said boop.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, it's got a damage pip on it. Oh.
And you gave me an ember in doing so.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
But
All right. Well, here's this fun card I told you about. Look at this enhancement. This is silly enhancement.
oh, it's the draw amber, draw capture pips,
Yeah.
and heal. Wow.
It's really good. It's a Omni heal 1 from each friendly creature. It's such a good card.
Wow. There's a lot of healing in Mass Mutation.
Oh crap, I got so excited to play that I forgot about I had a card in hand that I can't play.
Oh.
Reclaimed by nature. Oh well.
Bye.
Yeah. So okay. So
oh.
sorry, what did I ask you? What was the last thing I asked you again?
What kind of player I am?
Right, okay.
Oh no.
And the last thing the other question I had for you is if you could change one thing about KeyForge, what would it be? Like if you had control over like something that was going to happen in the game, what would you like actually want to change?
What would I want to change? That is a really good question and something I don't know. um. Hmm. I think.
Do you need a minute? Do you want me to tell you mine?
Yeah. Let's hear yours. Sorry, I'm just blanking.
Okay. No, I know it's not an easy question to just come up on the fly. And for everyone who doesn't know, I don't give my people on the show any heads up about what I'm going to ask. It's all on the fly as part of the fun of it. Hopefully to throw them off their KeyForge game. and and so for me, I think if there's one thing I could change about KeyForge, and I've had some interesting discussions with people about this, is that my first impression of the game, the way it was described and everything, is that there was a level of par between all the decks that existed.
Right.
That all decks kind of were equal.
Right.
And so when you bought a deck, you only needed one deck to play. And I think that's one of the most misleading things about the game is that you do only need one deck to play. The only thing is that may not be the one deck that's going to actually help you win games.
Right. It's most likely not.
Yeah. So I just wish there was to me I thought the algorithm was an actual thing that created this like level of equality between the decks in a way, like it understood the power level, and then so you had fairly even decks, and if you weren't playing or winning with it, it was probably because you didn't understand how to play that deck. That was kind of how I always viewed it.
Yeah, and so you actually reminded me of something. Uh, that kind of the idea of chain bound in my head was always like, since we didn't have this algorithm that made everything kind of a level playing field for decks, you would chain bound was the solution to that, where um, if you bring this big, huge, awesome deck, it's going to gain chains and it's going to be less awesome. And the less awesome decks just stay kind of where they are at, and eventually they will all meet in the middle. But
Mm-hmm.
there are just way too many good decks out there to where if you chain temper a deck, you're just going to go to, hey, I have this other awesome deck in my collection. I'm just going to bring this thing next time. And you don't see many decks with like 6 chains coming back to chain bound every single week. Like you just don't. It's either
No.
brand new decks or if like this deck has like 4 chains on it because it went 4-0 last week, and this week it's going to go 2-2, and that's the last time you're ever going to see this deck. And like there's just that idea of leveling off the decks so your local meta will be at a level point just is never going to happen. You still get the entire thing of like, hey, I have this deck with this many chains on it, good for me, yay. But you don't get the other half of it of, well, now it's competitive with a middling deck.
So you'd want to see a change to the way like Chainbound works, basically.
um yeah, like, because it would just be really interesting to be able to see, to have the more powerful decks come back and play week after week with these large amounts of chains against just like random decks that people manage to bring. I think it's just a factor of like they sold a lot of decks and there's a lot of
Yeah.
really good decks out there, and you don't want to play a deck that's going to go 2-2 or 1-3 if you have this other deck that you know could do 3-1 or 4-4 or 4-0.
Right, right.
And it's just how things are. What
See,
are you gonna do here?
See, you know what I thought was interesting was when I read about how like when you're playing with friends, how you could use chains as a way of like if there's an inequality, maybe because you play more or whatever, your deck's better, you could use chains of a way of balancing that out, and you keep increasing it until the games become more fair. I thought that was a really interesting concept from like the casual playing with your friends point of view. But you're right, it doesn't translate. Do you think it's because the chains they don't come on strong enough to actually truly affect a deck? Or do you
No,
think it?
the chains are just too slow in like actual in real life chain bound. It's like I I'm pretty lucky in my area. We had 3 different stores that would fire every single week that I could go to. So I could bring a deck to 3 different chain bounds a week and power it out as fast as possible there. But if you only have like one event to go to every single week, you're going to, like, that time is more precious. You're not going to be bringing a deck back that might do good or might not. You're going to bring back a deck that you know is going to do good.
Right. Yeah, I think you have a good point there. Yeah, it happens, and I mean, I think there's also the problem with chainbounds is what you said about how there's so many good decks out there. Is it's very easy to put chains on a deck and then go, well, I want to try this other good deck I haven't played yet, and so it defeats the purpose of constantly gaining chains if other people are bringing chains and you're just bringing a new deck every week. Like you kind of have to like have a discussion about that ahead of time.
Right. And we're just going to
Oh.
fight and get rid of that so we don't
Yeah.
have
Ah.
that threat in there.
Son of a gun.
And yeah, let's see what you can do for one more turn here. Oh man.
What do I not want here? Oh, after you resolve a bonus. Oh, only a draw card icon? That's kind of lame. No, I just mean like for it to be like for Chronos, the fact that it only resolves like the fact that there's something like, oh, I guess that makes sense. When you resolve a capture icon for Scrivenger, it says you can do, I guess it's whatever her enhance is. And then
Right.
it's this similar enhance. So I guess there's some decks where Chronos is going to be more powerful than others.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of cool.
That's the fun thing with the enhancements. It's like no longer are you like just looking for these certain combos, but you're looking for combos and cards with these enhancements, but not these enhancements on it. And it's just going to be make for a much wider spread, I think, of deck power. There's going to be a lot of like lower upper tier decks, I would say.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I feel like we're getting near the end here, so I'll do one of my closing questions because I think either you're gonna get yourself in check or you're gonna put me off check. What is break key? Oh no! Oh, but that doesn't work.
It didn't break your key.
No, because I don't have more forged keys than you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So see, someday I will actually read the cards.
So here's kind of like one of my closing questions. I like to end things off, and that's if you could have like a KeyForge spirit animal that represents you, what would that be?
Oh my gosh.
And it doesn't have to necessarily be like a creature. It can be like a character in art of the card.
Oh, what's that? What's the untamed leader? Eldest Bear?
Yeah.
I just love that card.
It's a great card.
It's so snuggly and cute looking, and then, it'll also rip your face off and make a lot of money doing it.
You know what's funny about that is how that is the untamed card, but the Brobnar did not have that, like a before fight gain Ember trigger. Like I thought that was so weird.
Like Brobnar, what happened, man?
They honestly need to remake the Brobnar leader, like demote Colic Stonefather and come up with a new one, because that giving everything skirmish is not something people care about.
If there were some really awesome fight abilities, maybe, but yeah. I mean, in Brobnar lore, they just went off and had a little civil war. They came back with a new leader. No big deal.
Right. It seems very plausible.
Happy.
Like there's like we got access to the Tales from the Crucible short story, and I mean leaders pretty much are born that way. It's like if they die and lose a fight, then there's a new leader whoever killed them. So I mean it's not totally impossible. Which should kind of be a cool thing to do in the game, to have like a creature that we all know suddenly becomes like leader, and it's the creature's name in Brobnar, and it's a rotating thing. I think that kind of be a cool thing.
Yeah, it'd be like kind of like Igon the Green and Igon the Terrible, but between sets instead of having,
or something like Ganger Chieftain comes, and it's like Ganger Chieftain. This set is like if he's in the center, all your creatures have enter play, fight with a neighboring creature, and that would be pretty wild.
Or
maybe
he has like
overpowered
deploy instead of. That'd be a cool one to have.
Yeah. Oh man, that was fun. Honestly, I really like this deck I played. I didn't realize this was the one I was choosing, or else I would not have chosen it, because it's
a gross fun deck, and I almost managed to not lose terribly. But
if you had got the break key a little bit earlier, I think things would have gone differently.
Oh man, I had break key. I got look over there now. I got Effervescent Principle on my last draw. It's like, come on.
You know what I would have I was wondering why you didn't do was choose a completely different house than what you had on board. Like choose your dis, and then you go with Mutagen Serum, because all your creatures on board were mutants.
Right.
So you could have robbed this and gone all mutant.
I could have. Well, maybe someday I will learn how to play this game correctly.
Well, until then, we all appreciate you supporting us playing this game and giving us resources that make it easier. So thank you, Luke. We all appreciate you. I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. So thanks so much for doing that.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it was fun to talk to you about. I just like hearing other people's perspective on the game, and I thought you brought something interesting, having done what you did for all the Discords and Twitches and whatnot, and providing us with that support. So thanks, man. We really appreciated you and all your TCO work as well. I know that is thankless work, but thank you nonetheless.
Oh, you're welcome.
So where can people find you?
They can find me. I'm on Twitter as SkyJedi. I am on Discord as SkyJedi on all the major KeyForge servers. I'm there. If you want to get on my bot server, just find one of my bots and type !help, and there'll be a link in there for my server. And I'm kind of just SkyJedi everywhere. It's me, except for the racing horse. That is not me.
I don't know what that is.
That's there's a racing horse called SkyJedi.
Oh, got you.
And it's really weird. He's retired now, so it's less cumbersome.
I love it. Well, thanks so much, man. And as always, everyone, may your amber never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.